and welcome to the Atomic Lizards podcast. It's time for our Now Playing series, where we look at the newest movies and TV shows currently playing or streaming. I'm Miranda, the film fanatic.
I'm Udi, the de facto film expert.
And I'm Dan, the kaiju extraordinaire.
On today's episode of Now Playing, we will be discussing Venom The Last Dance.
In Venom The Last Dance, Eddie Brock and Venom must make a devastating decision as they're pursued by a mysterious military man and alien monsters from Venom's homeworld.
Venom The Last Dance is the third film in the Venom franchise and stars Tom Hardy as Eddie Brock and Venom, alongside Chiwetel Ejiofor, Juno Temple, Rhys Ifans, Stephen Graham, Peggy Lou, Clark Bacco, Alana Ubach, and Andy Serkis.
This episode will have spoilers, so go watch it if you haven't yet. Now let's get started. What are your guys' initial thoughts on Venom The Last Dance? Udi, would you like to go first?
Sure, why not? So, I think we've lightly talked about the Venom movies before, potentially, on the podcast. And if we have, then you, the audience, knows that I'm not the biggest fan of these movies. I would say they're just not my cup of tea. I can understand why people could enjoy these movies. I could understand people finding these entertaining, sort of like a Fast and Furious or a movie kind of like that, where it's just to turn off your brain and go in for fun and some random action and, you know, some minor character moments here and there. But, you know, just overall kind of like a turn off your brain popcorn movie. And there's nothing wrong with that. I have my own fair share of movies like that. But for some reason, these just don't really vibe with me, I guess is the best way to put it. They're not like egregiously horrible. They're not like the worst movies ever. To call them that would be a little excessive. I'll just say that, yeah, they're just not exactly my cup of tea. And I have my own personal feelings about the genesis of this trilogy, but that's for another time. But as far as this movie goes, this one was kind of interesting because simultaneously I felt like it was the best of the trilogy and also kind of the worst. And that's not to say it was like a god-awful, unwatchable movie. I did laugh a few times here and there, and I did have some positive feelings about some of the action sequences in the film and whatnot. But overall, it just kind of felt like it could have been a lot worse for sure. But I also don't know that I was expecting it to be any better, given my track record with these movies. So again, just kind of like a movie. So with this one, it was what it was. You know, that it was a silly little adventure, and I'm, I guess, curious to see what they'll do next because they were teasing something big in this movie, and I don't really know what they're going to do with that. But seemingly this movie is probably going to make a profit, so I guess we'll find out eventually what they're cooking up. But what about you, Dan? What did you think of Venom: The Last Dance?
Is this movie set to make a profit? Because I was reading a report the other day that it opened lower than expected opening weekend.
I mean, as far as I know, it's already technically made back its production budget, but I mean, obviously you have to like multiply that by 2. I don't think it's quite there yet, but I mean, it's seemingly already passed like that threshold. So
I was going to say, as they say, you always got to times it by 2 in order for a movie to be considered successful. But yeah, I guess we'll see. I don't know. But yeah, I kind of have the same outlook as you, Udi. Like, I have some thoughts on Venom 3. I felt that Venom 3 was essentially the same song and dance as the first 2 movies. There's lots of fun and action to be had and tons of jokes to be made between Eddie and Venom. So if you're someone who has been a fan of this franchise, in my opinion, it's more or less the same thing that we've gotten in the previous films, which is great if you like these movies because and these movies definitely have their fans, and that's good. I think if you enjoyed the past 2 Venom movies, you're going to enjoy this one. Unfortunately for me, though, I didn't really enjoy the last two Venom movies, and this final film in the trilogy didn't really do all that much to convince me to start liking them. Once again, I know these movies have their fans, much like Udi was saying. I feel like I'm kind of repeating Udi here, but I really do have the same outlook as him. And I think that's great if you can enjoy these, because I sure as hell wish I could enjoy them, honestly. Like, the people that enjoy these movies always seem like they're having a lot of fun while watching them, and I want that fun too, but unfortunately, I don't know, it just doesn't work for me. And personally, I think the reason why this franchise has never really worked for me is because I've never been too keen on this iteration of the Venom character. I don't really feel like the character works as a comedic anti-hero. That's not to say I don't think Venom works at all as an anti-hero. I think he could work as an anti-hero. But to me, Venom never really felt like a comedic character, and I don't know if he's like that in the comics. I don't really keep up with the comics these days, especially, modern Marvel comics, despite the fact that I really do enjoy reading comics and I really wish I had more time to read them. But the point I'm making is I don't really like Venom being portrayed as a comedic character because I just never felt like it worked for me. So that's part of the reason why I've never really been a fan of these movies, because the direction they take Venom in is just something, once again, I'm just not a fan of. So essentially, the issues I have with these movies are they're actually more of a me problem than it is a problem with the movie. And that's not to say that this movie doesn't have its problems. Like, I felt like the writing wasn't very good and none of the comedic bits really landed for me. And I there were times where I found myself kind of rolling my eyes every time Venom cracked a joke. I also felt like Venom didn't really do much until the end of the movie, and like both him and Eddie made some really dumb decisions along the way, and I also didn't really find Noel to be that interesting in it. But that's not to say that the movie was all bad. There were aspects to this movie that I did like. Even though most of the jokes didn't land for me, there were still some that got a good chuckle out of me. The action was good and fun, like I said before, and I definitely feel like the actions and like fight scenes in these movies have been the strongest aspects of this franchise. And I did enjoy some of the characters, especially the hippie family that Venom ran into halfway through the movie, but we can talk more on that later. All in all, I don't find myself being all that surprised that I ended up not really liking this one, but I know a lot of people really do love these movies. And in the end, once again, not to copy you again, Udi, but I just think this franchise is just one that's not really for me, sadly. But yeah, those are my thoughts. What about you, Miranda? How's our one Venom fan feeling about this one? Was this a good conclusion for you?
So yeah, I enjoy the Venom movies. They're fun and ridiculous and stupid and nonsensical, and I love them. Eddie and Venom are a great couple. They, I believe, canonically are a couple in some kind of version of the comics. So like, it's like that type of Venom. Like, I don't really care about dark, scary Venom. Like, whatever. I don't care. Yeah, okay, he's a scary bad guy. But you give me Eddie and Venom and this ridiculous, like, situation, especially in the first one, where it's like they were trying to be more serious, but like it was really silly. And then you like incorporate Anne and Dan, I think was her new boyfriend's name, into those ones. And then the second one is, well, the first one is a great rom-com, and then the second one is a great breakup film, and then this one I was really hoping that they would like do the fanfic thing. But they didn't really do that because it's a movie and they have to sell it to people and not just people who hang out on Tumblr and read fan fiction. So, yeah, I did enjoy this movie.
Can I ask one question? What is the fanfic thing you are referring to?
Oh, just like fanfic coded, like, oh, they get married AU or like coffee shop AU or like
Yeah,
that. Like
I kind of figured, but I just wanted to be sure.
yeah, I was talking to my sister and she's like, yeah, I really wish that they would have gone to Las Vegas and Dan and Anne were there and then Venom and Eddie would have crashed the wedding and you got to hang out with Miss Chang and like and then Eddie and Venom went and got married. That's not the movie.
I'm not gonna
but
lie.
that's a fanfic like
Yeah.
movie.
Seeing Eddie get married to Venom at like a wedding recital or whatever, that would be insane. Like,
Yeah, exactly. Insane.
But I will say, your sister partially got her wish though, because they do go to Vegas and they do run into Mrs. Chen.
Yes, they do. So we did get some of that. I mean, we got a iconic dance sequence, which I think is pretty standard for these Sony superhero movies at this point. But we can talk more about that in a bit. Let me read my letterbox review off to you guys. So it says, was it quote unquote good? No. But was it fun? Yes, it was. Very ridiculous, just like the other ones. A little disappointed because I wanted them to have a wedding, but with the glowy thing they have, they are basically married, so I'll take it. I just want Eddie to have a good day because he's always sweaty and in distress, and they're always in some kind of chaos. I just want them to have a nice day on a beach. I guess they kind of got until they got zapped into the other universe. I was not expecting to see Danny Rojas and Keely Jones from Ted Lasso. I do not know their real names in this movie, so that was shocking, I guess. And I really liked the montage at the end. It was like something I wasn't expecting, but I'm like, yeah, no, cool, I'll accept this. I'm glad I'm seeing your vision here. Also, this is my 100th movie of the year if you remove some rewatches, because like I watched like Princess Diaries 2 twice this year, so if you remove one of those, so it would calculate out to be my 100th movie of the year. So that's pretty neat. But this movie isn't for everyone. It's not everyone's cup of tea. I know when the first Venom came out, a lot of people were like, I want a dark Venom. I want like evil Venom against Spider-Man or whatever. And then they went and saw Venom and was like, this is not what I wanted. And then they're like, I don't like this, which is fair. This is not everyone's cup of tea. It's ridiculous. It's not the best written things, but there are really cool elements. And I just enjoy watching a silly little superhero movie for fun that's not really connected to a greater outside universe of other like superheroes. But with that all being said, I guess let's dive into what this movie is actually about. So, like, what is the story? Did you guys like the story? And then also, do you think it fits with the other Venom movies? Which I think we've kind of already mentioned in the initial thoughts, but maybe we can expand a bit more on it. And, like, does it fit with the other Sony movies, like Morbius, Madam Web, which I haven't seen, and is there only 2 other ones at the moment? I don't really remember. But yeah, so let's dive into it.
Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting question because I feel like both Morbius, Madam Web, and Venom are 3 like completely different movies. But because like Venom is kind of more like a silly fun adventure, like we've all been saying, while Morbius was trying to like take itself a little more seriously, and then I don't know what Madam Web was. So, but yeah,
a Spider-Man movie without Spider-Man.
I mean, yeah, it's essentially what all these movies are. And then we got, because you were asking about other movies, we got Kraven the Hunter coming in like a month or so.
I did see that trailer. I was like, why is he back in the Marvel universe? Aaron Taylor Johnson or whatever his name is.
Well, I mean, he wants to do another Marvel movie, I guess. It's the multiverse. Will he
die as quickly as he's introduced, like he was in Avengers 2?
Well, seeing as he's playing the main title character, I kind of doubt it. But then again, he might.
Stopped anyone before.
No, but he might, though, because in the trailer, he literally gets mauled by a lion. And I guarantee you that happens at like the beginning of the movie. So he might.
Maybe. I guess someone will see.
Yeah, someone will see, exactly. But yeah, in terms of the story, I mean, I once again, I had some issues with the story, particularly in the writing department, because you got this guy, they build up this like big villain called Null, who I've never heard of, but I guess he's like a big deal in the current Spider-Man comics. And like he's trapped in this one place, and he sends these like hunters out to track down the symbiotes, and that's like the main plot point of the movie, is that you got these symbiote hunters after Eddie and Venom, and they got to figure out how to deal with them. But like, I don't know, I just don't feel like Eddie and Venom take these symbiote hunters that seriously, because like Venom's like, oh, if I morph with you, that'll alert the hunters and they'll find us, so we can't really morph too often. But then like he decides to morph with Eddie to do a dance sequence with Mrs. Chen, and once again I get like that's kind of falls in line with the tone of these movies, because that's normal with these movies, like silly little moments like that. But you were just saying earlier in the movie that you can't fully morph with Eddie, because if you do, it's going to attract these symbiote hunters. So you should really only be morphing in like life or death situations, like what we saw during the desert scene, where I think Chiwetel Ejiofor sent those, like, I don't know if they're not exactly Navy SEAL Team 6 officers or whatever, but that's what they are, soldiers, but that's what they kind of reminded me of. He sent like a secret like special ops team after them, and that's a life or death situation there, so like that makes sense. But literally like dancing with Mrs. Chen, and then what happens? Oh, the symbiote hunter gets attracted to that and he attacks. Like, I don't know, like I have issues with that, because that's such a stupid reason to want to morph with Eddie and put your lives in danger like that. And once again, I get the point of the scene, because these have always been fun, much lighter in tone movies, but there could have been, like, what the stakes are in this movie, and to do something like that for such a silly reason kind of just took me out of it. But yeah, I've already kind of said it before, like Noel didn't really leave that big of an impression on me, because like his presence is like there throughout the entire movie, but he doesn't do anything. And I get why, because he's trapped in that one part. But like, I don't know, he says he needs like the symbiotes to be free, but then at the end of the movie he's still free anyway. I don't know, it just doesn't make any sense. Like, it would have been cool, because once again, Noel, I understand, is trapped. That's why he's like barely showing up throughout the movie. But it would have been cool had he succeeded in getting like. But then again, they do explain in the movie that they need to kill Eddie and Venom in order for him to truly be free. I don't know. I would have written it in one way to like where maybe he doesn't need to kill Eddie and Venom. Maybe he's just coming after them so he can get the symbiote. Because it would have been cool to see him show up at the end of the movie and fight Eddie and Venom. I don't know. It would have been at least cool to see him. But yeah, once again, I don't know how much better I could have written this. But yeah, I just felt like I would have liked to have seen Noel more than just seeing him like trapped in that one area.
I'm pretty sure the movie said that they needed to be captured alive for Null to escape. Like, if either one of them died, then he failed. Like, he couldn't get like the whatever it was called,
I must be misremembering it. Okay,
yeah, that's why it makes it even dumber, because he dies and then he still escapes.
So yeah,
Venom's not actually dead.
Okay, yeah, he might not be.
Because he's a cockroach right now, according to the end credit.
Is that what they were implying with that end credit?
That's what I took it as.
Okay. But to go back to my previous point, then yeah, why didn't they have Noel come out at the end to like fight? But then again, he's trying. I don't know, but still.
Well, but
I would have liked to have seen Noel.
That's still, even if he survived and he's a cockroach, like that still doesn't. Like, why would Noel somehow be able to escape? I
don't think he escaped.
Well,
it didn't seem like he escaped.
I'm pretty sure it was like, yes, now I'm free, and then that's why he looks up at the camera, and then the movie ends.
I thought he got sucked back into the darkness goo.
I don't think so. I'm pretty positive, like, it was more of like, now I'm free, and they're gonna pay or something like that.
Well, don't rely on me for this. I couldn't even get the other thing correct. So
I mean, that was like in an end credit. So really, can we really take any much like credit? Can
that's
you actually
true.
believe anything you see in an end credit scene these days?
There are so many end credit scenes that do amount to nothing, and
Yeah.
even Marvel's guilty of it now. So
Yeah, I'm sure whatever it was, they'll just retcon it in the next one. But Dan, you do have some good points on the story and it being a little like wonky and stuff, and like Venom and Eddie morphing together when they probably shouldn't be. And I think that this movie, although interesting and has fun moments, I think it feels very much like this is part 1 of something. Like, not a lot actually happens. Eddie walks through the desert, and then there's a big battle. There's not, like, a lot of stuff going on. It's very simple, I guess. And then there's also that room with the guy with all the televisions and, like, the black and white camera stuff, and I'm like, "Who is this guy?" They don't explain that, so I don't know. I'm sure they have plans, and then that will probably, maybe, probably not answer all of our questions. But like, I definitely see where you're coming from, with the story for this movie.
yeah, I just wanted because you were talking about that one scene with the guy in the room. You're like, who's this guy? It was funny because as I was watching the movie, we get to that one scene where that one like main scientist lady is talking to that one dude who they all thought was dead. It's the guy that Eddie was wanted for like quote unquote murdering, but he actually didn't murder him. I don't remember the name of the character, but he like gets a symbiote and then he like transforms into like a Venom like symbiote. And I remember thinking, is this supposed to be a character? Am I supposed to know who this is? But then in the end, I think it was like, no, I think it's just some random guy with a symbiote or whatever. So he might not even be anyone. I guess we'll see.
Yeah, I'm not really sure who the guy that they had, like, kidnapped in the like, the underground Area 51 with, like, the green symbiote. That's the guy you're talking about, right?
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah. He might have been from the second one, truthfully, I don't know.
Yeah, he was.
So, yeah, probably help if, I remembered who he was.
Honestly, same.
Unfortunately, I do remember, and he was like the detective who was helping Eddie Brock be able to like before his execution. He was letting Eddie Brock interview him before Cletus Cassidy's execution, and so they were like in cahoots because the idea was that I think Eddie was going to interview Cletus, and then if he found anything interesting that could help him with some cases, that he was going to pass that information along to Mulligan, this guy with the like green/teal symbiote, and then he got like attacked by the woman who was Cletus Cassidy's partner in Venom
Mhm.
2, and then yeah, it seemed like he was going to be the villain of this one, and then he ended up just, I don't know, being infused with symbiotes.
Yeah. Okay, I'm remembering now. So, yeah, I mean, I think they probably just needed some kind of connection to the second one for this one. Because, like, none of the other characters other than Miss Chang are in this. It's like a whole new group of people. But I would have to say that the underground Area 51 area looks pretty cool. It's a pretty cool lab. I was unsure about whether these scientists were good guys or bad guys at the beginning. I'm still not sure. Um, but like just the way the lab is set up and how they like keep the symbiotes in their like little pods, I found very interesting. And I thought there was some really good, really cool like lighting, and like this person is stuck in like a contamination room. So whenever they were like talking to him through the glass and with like the lighting cues on that, I think it's just like the bright white and the orange and like that whole set piece or those set elements I found really cool and really interesting. And like there's also these movies seem to have very interesting ways to like show backstory. Like in the second one, I liked the animation they used to talk about how they show Cletus's backstory, and they did that a bit in this one too, like, when the, like, monsters are looking for Venom and Eddie, like, that grainy, like, film, like, static, like, sand, like, design, I really liked how that looked, I thought it was really cool, and I think the monsters hunting down Venom and Eddie also looked really cool. My brain was like, "This is reminding me of Star Wars number 2, Attack of the Clones?" I don't know, the one where Padme's cool, and they fight in the arena, and there's, like, that tall, spider-like, long neck dinosaur, and then, like, the other not dinosaur, monster, and then, like, the other ones there. My brain was just, like, the whole time pinging that scene in that Star Wars movie, and I was like, "Oh, that's cool," but I did like the monster designs. I think they were rendered really well. I think they have really cool creature designs, like, I liked and was not expecting them to, like, eat people and then shoot blood out of the back of their necks and the, like, multi-tail, like, it's a really cool design.
I just want to say that I agree with you, Miranda. I also really like the creature design. I thought they were interesting, and I also want to confirm you were thinking of Attack of the Clones. So, but yeah, no, I like the designs of the monsters. I thought they were kind of cool.
Cool things in this movie, it's not all bad.
Yeah, so I guess I'll give my thoughts on the story and how it fits with the other Venom slash Sony Marvel movies. I mean, I do kind of feel like this kind of came out of nowhere. Like they have like thread of Mulligan, and that's really about it. Him and then Venom being in Mexico, but then he gets transported back to his universe, which was kind of, I'm pretty sure is retcon, because I'm pretty positive it was the Peter Parker spell thing at the end of No Way Home that sent him back, or something to do with that, or something to do with Doctor Strange magic. But then in this movie, it's actually the null dimension thing, which like doesn't really make sense, but whatever.
The null dimension thing.
Like the null portal, sorry. Like null opens portals, and then like that was the portal that like pulled them back into their universe.
I thought it was just a portal. Okay.
Yeah. So it's kind of just, I don't know, it's kind of a mishmash, and maybe that's why. Maybe they like, I have a feeling that they had other plans or other potential plans. And I mean, it seems like with every Sony Marvel movie, it's like they have initial plans to do something, and then all of a sudden last second they're like, oh wait, actually we're going to change everything about this movie, and we have to like get it out by the same release date, so go. And so I mean, I'm sure that the original potential plan for Venom 3 looked very different than what we got. That all being said, and especially for, I'm pretty positive, being a directorial debut, this was not that bad. Was it my favorite of the year? Definitely not. But I would say that, it did the Venom thing. It had some funny moments. The action in the third act, like the big third act fight scene, was not too bad and was kind of neat. Like it was kind of cool to see all the symbiotes working together. And as far as like Null goes, he was definitely giving me like early 2000s superhero movie villain vibes, or he's just like this edge lord, just shrouded in darkness, like I'm just this big threat to the universe. But all things considered, I mean, I thought it would have been cool to see him in action just to see what he could do. But I didn't really think that we were actually going to get that. I wasn't really sure what was going to happen, but I was pretty positive he was not going to, because obviously, again, the movie is like, oh yeah, one of us has to die for him to be able to, or for him to lose, I'm pretty sure. But if he captures us, then he wins, and then he escapes, and then it's the end of the universe. Again, from what I remember, it seems like he's escaping at the end of the movie, so who's to say what that means? But I am, I guess, intrigued. Not necessarily excited, but I am intrigued.
Yeah, and to go back to what I was trying to say earlier, I think it would have been cool because, like you were saying, Null had to capture Eddie and Venom in order to be free. Like, and obviously, like Miranda was saying, they're trying to build up to something bigger, it seems like. So this is probably not the direction they would have wanted to go in. But I personally thought it would have been cool had they got to a point where Null did successfully capture Eddie and Venom, and like he imprisons them on whatever weird planet he's on. He gets free, and then somehow through whatever like BS the writers are able to come up with, Eddie and Venom are able to escape their imprisonment, and then they fight Null. Like, I think that would have been cool.
Would have been more exciting for sure. I guess like the big thing there is it would have been like that he's supposed to be like basically like a universe ending villain, and it's just Venom. So I don't quite feel like the power level is quite there for that to really seem like a feasible fight. But I mean, I don't know. I really don't know that much about Null anyway. Just like a little bit that I found out before the movie came out because I knew that he was a villain, and then I saw people online talking about him and some of like his abilities and stuff. I don't know, but either way, I mean, again, like I'm just kind of curious to see what, if anything, they'll do with Null. Um, Especially because supposedly this is the last Venom movie, and then after this we're getting Kraven the Hunter, and then I don't know if they've announced anything else. So I don't know what they're doing. I don't know if they know what they're doing, but they're still doing something. So
I want to comment real quick because you were talking about Null and how he seems to be a universe-ending threat. Now, once again, I'm like you, dude. I don't know much about Null. I had never even heard about him before this movie. But isn't he a Spider-Man villain? Like, if Spider-Man is powerful enough to go up against him, I would think Venom would also be. But once again, I don't know. So,
Spider-Man villains? Isn't the Sony universe just Spider-Man people?
I mean, yeah, that's what I was thinking.
It's a Spider-Man universe without Spider-Man, unless you go animated. I also don't know anything about Noel, but I also don't care to know anything about him. He was just like a guy in the movie. They needed a bad guy, so they're like, this guy. And I was like, okay, sure. If you haven't
Fair
noticed,
enough.
I was just on the ride. I'm just here for a fun time. Like I do not think very deeply about anything that happened in this movie. Like it's just here. I'm gonna eat my popcorn, and then yeah, that's that.
yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, that's totally fair, Miranda.
Yeah, I do think that they could have expanded more on him, maybe give him a bit backstory. But like, if the goal is to introduce him in Venom so they can fight him in a different movie, I feel like it's the same thing that like the MCU does or the DCEU, where they're like, here's this bad guy. You won't see him for another 13 movies, and then he's gonna have a vendetta against Tony Stark, even though he's never interacted with Tony Stark before. It's not the time or place for my Endgame Affinity War conversation. But anyways, back to Venom.
But yeah, and so I guess with Null, because I don't really remember where I was going. From what I read online, because I mean, again, like I didn't really know anything about him because he's kind of a fairly new character as far as I know. I think he's a Spider-Man villain, but I don't know that he's like a one-on-one Spider-Man villain. He might be like a Spider-Verse villain. I don't know, but essentially, from what it sounded like, people were saying that he would be worked better as like an Avengers type villain, not like a one-on-one hero villain. So again, I don't know. I didn't really look into it that much because I really didn't care. I wasn't trying to do like a huge lore dump for Venom 3 The Last Dance. Even for like MCU stuff, like if I don't know who the character is, I'm not the kind of person at this point, like I'm like, oh, I don't know which villain or character that is. Let me go look it up and find everything about them in the comics history. Like I might do that after the movie, but at that point, if like I didn't know about them before then, because I do know a fair amount of Marvel villains and stuff like that. So if I don't know, I'd rather just watch the movie, find out that way, and then afterwards, if I'm curious, I can look it up. That way, I'm not, I guess, changing my perception of what the character's supposed to be. I guess I don't know. Like I'll just experience it how it is that first time, and that's that. But with this one, I mean, again, it wasn't like purposeful investigating. I just happened to like stumble across social media stuff and then was like, oh, okay, I mean, who is this guy? And I was like, oh, okay, interesting, and left it at that. But anyway, so I mean, at the end of the day, like I didn't know, it was just kind of whatever. I mean, yeah, kind of like what Miranda was saying, it's like, okay, I mean, I know that he's the main villain of this, technically speaking, but I don't, you know, I don't really care. I'm just kind of curious to see what they'll do with him. And then, really, the main antagonist of the film was just the creature things, because Noel never left his prison planet, I guess. And then there is just, I guess, the covert ops military group that was hunting Venom and Eddie. But aside from that, not really much of an antagonistic force or like a main antagonist, I guess. And as far as like, does it fit into the other movies? Again, technically, it has like the connecting tissue of Mulligan and the connecting tissue of the ending of No Way Home. But otherwise, like story wise, I mean, like, yeah, it obviously definitely feels like it's part of the Venom trilogy. But I mean, to its credit, it's very different than the other two that came before it, and it feels pretty different. And I guess it feels different than the other Sony Marvel movies. I mean, Madam Web doesn't really feel like it's connected to the Venom movies. Like, definitely more so than like other things, but it almost in a way just kind of felt like its own thing. And then Morbius, I mean, kind of the same thing. It could fit in the world for sure, but I don't know. I don't know if they'll ever actually combine any of these characters together, but I think it's not that I want it, but I think it would just be interesting to see what all of these characters would be like together, just because they are so different and it wouldn't really make much sense. But I mean, at this point, like they've done all these movies and they're doing like Kraven the Hunter. It's like I mean, you're trying to build to something. You might as well just find some stupid reason to put all these characters together to see what happens, I guess. I don't know. That's just how I feel at this point.
I do not want them to do a whole, like, we're bringing everyone together thing. No. Like, no thank you. I think these movies have the same general tones and, like, artistic elements. The plots might not fit together, the characters might not fit together, like, but they're still all very silly and ridiculous and out of this world and dumb and kind of bad. Like, you have a dance scene in this one, you have a dance scene in Morbius. Like, I heard like Madam Web is not the most like intensely good dialogue. There's a lot of like ADR issues and stuff, which is why I think like they have a specific feel together. Like, they make sense in my brain that they all come from like the same thing. I don't think they're connected via universe or like characters or whatever. Like, I just think that they all have like similar tones and like as like overarching. It's like, oh, if I didn't know this was a Sony movie, I could probably figure out just based on how it's like written and acted and portrayed that they like fit at the same like table.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. I mean, I know you don't really typically like the connected universe thing, but I mean, they have been trying to do something with these characters to like build to some sort of crossover. I seemingly can't figure it out. So
I mean, if they do that, they do that. I don't truthfully really care. And I don't mind connected universe. It's just like, I don't know. Venom is a movie, all three of them, that is very distant from what it would be perceived as, I guess. Like, you have Venom in Spider-Man, right? In Spider-Man 3. It's very connected to that Spider-Man. Whereas, like, this version of Venom is, like, disconnected from all of that stuff, mainly probably because of legal reasons. So it's just, like, I don't know, it's just, like, a little pocket of, like, silliness, which I enjoy. And it's like, I don't have expectations on it, but, like, I definitely see people who want Venom a certain way to not like these movies. I can see how these movies might not be connected, or that they are connected, or if they want to bring all these characters together. I mean, I can see I can see that they're trying to do that. I feel like this movie is like trying to do that. But like I don't think they know what they're doing, and like which I feel like has already been mentioned a few times in our conversation, so
Yeah, they're looking for any way possible to bring all of these characters together for an ensemble film. You know, that's what they really want to do because they want to try to replicate the MCU's success. I mean, which movie studio doesn't want to try to replicate the MCU success? Hell, DC is going for attempt number 2 at doing that. So, but
the thing
yeah,
is you can't repeat that. It's a fluke. Like you can try, but it's not gonna work.
yeah, I mean, we'll see. I mean, I don't want to go too off topic, but it seems like DC is in a good position to try and do it. But once again, it's their second attempt. So I don't know if everyone's going to be willing to give them another chance, but we'll have to see. But yeah, no, I agree. I don't think you really can replicate that success. And if you do, it takes time and planning. And hell, even with Marvel and the MCU, we've talked about this before. I used to think the MCU was planned out, but it wasn't. They were kind of just making it up as they go. So like you were saying, it was just essentially was sort of lightning in a bottle. So, and yeah, that's what they were, because like even at the end of Morbius, they had that whole after credit scene with Michael Keaton's Vulture showing up and being like, I feel like this has something to do with Spider-Man. Like maybe we should team up or whatever, something stupid like that. So that's what they really want to end up doing at one point.
They should just leave it alone. Just let them stand still by themselves. Like, you don't have to connect them.
Yeah, I mean, they don't need to connect them. And I honestly think that if they stopped half-assedly trying to combine them or mix them together, that they could do a better job of just telling fun, self-contained stories. But, I mean, again, like, they're just in some sort of weird middle ground where it's just kind of like they're trying to add Spider-Man with every movie and then they end up backing out the last second for whatever reason, whether it be because they can't convince one of the Spider-Man actors to join or they don't want to hire a new Spider-Man actor, I don't know. And then they try to combine some of the other characters in, but then they don't know how to do it. They like want to combine the Sony Marvel universe with the MCU, which like is probably never going to happen because there's no way Kevin's going to allow that. Like I don't know. I mean, again, like if they just focus on telling, even if they were still as silly, like I honestly think that they could be more fun and just better if they were just more self-contained. But they don't really know what they're doing.
I agree with that. If they were more self-contained and they like focused on being funny or something of that nature, I think they could succeed and do well, but they're not focusing on that.
Yeah, and even like something like this where all of a sudden we just got this brand new like quote unquote big bad in Null. And it's like, I mean, again, like, are we ever even gonna see Null again? Who's to say? But like we just wasted a bunch of time writing in this character that, like, I mean, for the most part, no one really cares about. Like, yeah, like the deep comic book like Venom fans probably are like, oh my god, that's so cool, it's Null, and it's like, okay, cool. I mean, I'm glad they got to see their character that they like on screen, but then it's just wasted time in the movie. Instead of doing that, they could have done something else, or I mean, I'm not saying they should have just done like the Mulligan setup and just done that, because I mean that probably would have been kind of like a lame finale for the trilogy, I guess. But I don't know, like they could have just done something else instead of just wasting time on building up a new big bad that no one really asked for, no one really cares about, and just had more fun and more antics and more this or that. But it is what it is. We got Mrs. Chen dancing with Venom to ABBA, so I mean that's probably the highlight of the movie, to be honest.
Yeah, for you.
I mean, it was a pretty fun part. I was like, yeah, cool, let's dance to ABBA, that's great.
Wasn't as good as Matt Smith dancing in Morbius, but I'll give it to him.
Nothing will ever be as good as Matt Smith dancing in Morbius.
I mean, what about Spider-Man and Spider-Man 3?
Oh, you know what? That is a good contender.
I'm pretty sure Sony.
That's a good one, yeah.
Yeah.
I think the Matt Smith one takes it by a hair for me, just because, at least in Spider-Man 3, like that's a movie that is problematic, not in the sense of like, oh, it does problematic things, but just in the sense that it's a problematic movie and that there's too many cooks in the kitchen and that just has a lot of like little issues here and there. But it's not a bad movie overall. Morbius is just Morbius, but the most memorable part of the movie is just Matt Smith dancing.
I think what also helps the scene with Matt Smith dancing edge out a little more is the song that plays.
Yes.
Because the song that plays is so funny and like
so
hard
insane
to understand, and it doesn't make any sense. So
it's just like they couldn't pick a vibe for the movie, so they were just like throwing everything at the wall to see what stuck. And I have to assume like the editor, one of the editors, I don't know how many editors were in that movie, just maybe liked that song or something, and they're like, "Oh man, this would be great," because it's just such a different vibe from like everything else in the movie. I don't know.
They have to get song clearance first.
Ah,
At least how Edgar Wright makes his movies is he gets the song clearance and then he makes the things.
well, yeah, because usually he like writes the songs into the script, so if he can't use the
Yeah.
song, he has to know.
So maybe Sony is different. They're probably different.
Yeah, I would probably warrant to say so. But I mean, it's possible that they still have to try to get permission before. But either way, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I've been talking for a long time, so I'll just wrap it up with, I mean, the story was fine. I mean, for what it was, I wasn't expecting a lot going in, so like I wasn't disappointed or anything. I was shocked that they actually did end up killing Venom, technically. I guess it depends on how you read that final end credit scene. I didn't really get that it was Venom, but I mean, that makes more sense than there just being a random cockroach in the desert.
Yeah. It was next to a test tube. That's probably Venom. Because he left a little part on the bar at the beginning, and then they test tubed it. And then it blew up, and then he affected the cockroach.
Like, that just looked like the test tube that Juno Temple's scientist character had, or that she like
but
smashed
all
open.
of the test tubes looked the same.
Well, yeah, but that's why,
Let
like,
me
when
live
I first
in this fantasy world that I've made in my head, so I can't, because I don't want to accept that Venom's actually dead.
Well, like I said, I mean, I think that's more plausible than my initial was like, what does that mean? So I mean, I think you're onto something there. I think that's probably the true ending. That's my headcanon now.
Yeah.
I don't think Venom is actually dead. I think he is going to come back. There's many people predict. There's a lot of people. Once again, I don't know if this will happen, so don't take my word on this. Don't believe this right away. But people are guessing that he might show up again in like Secret Wars or something. So I don't know.
Who's to say? But one thing I do want to bring up that I forgot about is I made this joke after I finished watching the movie that they gave Venom the Paul Walker tribute.
Yeah.
They like had all the montage of all the different Venom movies and like just different moments where Venom is still alive and they're playing like a random pop song. Just like I was speechless. I was not prepared for Maroon 5 at the end of Venom 3, but
same.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting it. But I was like, yeah, no, I'm here for it. Let's go.
Yeah.
There's not anything in these movies that like actively makes me dislike them, surprisingly.
Good. And that's always like, it's always nice to find something that is just like just up your alley.
Well, as we are well aware, I like cheese and aliens, so
there's plenty of cheese and aliens here.
Even though there is aliens and a lot of like cheesiness and silliness going on, the action sequence at the final like third of the movie was actually pretty interesting and had some cool elements. And we were introduced to some new characters like the hippie family and the new scientist. So I guess let's talk a bit about like that final action sequence and like the other symbiotes, which we kind of already mentioned. Udi, you already mentioned the design on them a bit. So is there anything you guys want to start off with for that topic?
Did enjoy that. And a lot of the other symbiotes, I mean, It was cool to see them come together and do that big battle scene at the end. I do feel like that's the best part of the movie, but they didn't really leave too much of an impression on me because I didn't really get to see that much of them because it was all like a bunch of quick action scenes. But that scene was still cool, and like I said, it was cool to see them all fight together. And it was funny because the one scientist lady, her backstory, it's revealed that she gets struck by lightning, and like her brother like also gets struck by lightning and he dies, and I'm sitting here thinking, oh, what is she gonna turn into the Flash? And then like she gets the symbiote at the end and she like starts running super fast. I was like, oh my god, she actually did turn into the Flash. So I thought that was a little
Oh my
funny.
gosh, I didn't even think of
Yeah.
that.
So
She is the Flash.
yeah,
Grant
exactly.
Gustin out. This
Oh,
lady
no.
is
Yeah.
now the Flash. I don't know the answer to this. That's why I'm gonna ask it, but I don't know if you guys know either. So do like each of the symbiotes have like special powers? Or like do we know? Or are they just different colors?
I really wish I could answer that, but truthfully, I don't know. I mean, I feel like they're all kind of like, because Venom and Carnage, at least in the iterations that I've seen them in, are kind of almost the same in terms of their powers. But yeah, I mean, I know there's like another.
Suggests.
Well, what's up?
That's what the movie suggests.
Yeah, and like I know there's like other symbiotes like Scream. Like Scream has like a short, like 1 second, like couple second cameo in this movie. At least her design does. So I don't know if like she also has like different powers and whatnot. But yeah, I'm not sure.
I guess I'll have to go to the old Google box. Although it's broken.
There you go.
While you guys were talking, I did a quick Google search, and I was pretty sure that I'd seen this before. Again, in my accidental Venom knowledge quests. But yeah, it seems like the different symbiotes do have different abilities. I would say that Venom and Carnage seem to be the most ubiquitous, but at least according to Wikipedia, there's the symbiote toxin, which apparently can change its shape and form into a Spider-Man-like build. Venom is like big and muscular. Scream can use its web-like hair as a weapon. Agony can spit acid and manipulate matter. And then it goes on and on. But yeah, so like, I mean, we saw that in this one, at least with mainly Agony, because she becomes a Flash for the finale. But I would say the other ones seem fairly ubiquitous. I mean, that tan one, I don't know what that one's name was, but the tan one was like a big brute. And then I would say my favorite symbiote in this one was definitely the teal-ish one. I don't think it's the same one that Mulligan had, but the Christmas tree scientist, she gets a hold of this other like teal-colored symbiote, and I think she was like the highlight for sure. She was really cool. The way she was
I agree,
using
she was cool.
her arms and like turning them into like weapons, and then definitely the most effective symbiote user for sure, aside from Venom, of course. And then I guess Agony was interesting. It was funny because I was kind of expecting Agony to show up sooner, but she didn't really show up till like the last second. So that was interesting, I guess. But yeah, I wasn't expecting the Flash powers. And then it was kind of cool, I guess, to see like a big Venom monster. Reminded me of the video game Spider-Man Web of Shadows, to see like a big Venom monster when he was like absorbing all the creatures and taking him to the acid bath. And then I guess also kind of like Spider-Man 2, like the game that came out last year. I don't think there's a big Venom creature in there though, as far as I remember. But yeah. Anyway, it was cool though to see all these different symbiote characters working together during the big action sequence. It was just like, I don't know, something we haven't seen in live action before. We haven't, outside of No Way Home, we've never seen any other live action Spider people working together. So like that was kind of interesting as well in its own right. I do, like Dan said, I do kind of wish that they'd gotten a bit more of a chance to showcase their powers, or like they'd been able to like at least kind of give a somewhat of a brief synopsis of like what they all did. Because there was also that one like fire one that looked kind of like molten lava, which was kind of cool. But I mean, we only saw like 2 seconds of that symbiote before they just kind of moved on. But overall, I mean, they look pretty cool. But I guess like I don't really know where they would have, introduced all that or anything like that. So yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, it would have been nice to know more about them. And like it would have been cool to like have them expand on that and like actually say what their powers were and stuff. And like actually show that more than just them like fighting the like creature. But yeah, like I don't know where they would have put that. That's probably why they didn't put it. Been nice. Would have been nice to know those things. And like maybe the lab could have explained it. And the symbiotes seem to bond with these like people like really fast and easily compared to like how they bond to people in the first Venom movie, which I was like, okay, I'll just accept that. No further questions.
Yeah. I think maybe we can chalk it up to the symbiotes were like, oh shoot, like this is a world and universe ending event. We gotta just get
We
on
gotta
with it.
do what we have to do.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just to
I
bring it
guess
all
at
back.
that point, it just is you have to.
Yeah. It's just
'Cause
a
it
necessity.
Exactly, yeah. Because it would have destroyed Earth and probably the whole universe.
Agreed. But I just looked it up and I thought it was. I remembered So Juno Temple played Agony, but also, or like her scientist, regular human name is Dr. Teddy Payne. And I remembered every time that she came on screen, it was like, yes, Dr. Payne. And I was like, I don't know why, but I just got a little bit of a kick every time. Just a cool name. Also reminded me of Max Payne, even though they're spelled differently. And then also the other scientist, her buddy, her name, I guess, is Sadie Christmas, which I don't know why they
Wait,
put
what?
Christmas in her name, but yeah, I guess the character's
Okay.
name is Sadie Christmas.
Well, that explains the Christmas badge.
I guess so.
Okay. So you have the main scientist guy that's in like Doctor Strange or whatever, and he's back in this another MCU. This isn't MCU. That makes more sense now because there was the scientist guy, or I guess the military guy.
Yeah, Chiwetel Ejiofor's character.
Yeah.
General Strickland.
Yeah. And he was like calling her Christmas. And I thought it was like as an insult, but if that's her
Yeah.
last name, that makes so much more sense. I was like, geez, this guy is rude. Just because she has a Christmas tree on her lab coat because she wants to have a little fun at work. You don't have to be mean, but no, that's her name.
I thought that was a nickname as well. Okay. Also,
Yeah,
I just want to mention that Dr. Payne sounds like a wrestler name. So
Dr. Payne.
Dr. Payne.
No, but yeah, you're so totally right, Miranda. That whole time, I never in a million years would have expected that the character's name was Christmas. I just thought he was being mean because he didn't like her, and so he was just calling her, like, that was his nickname for her, was Christmas, because he thought it was annoying that she always had a Christmas pin on her jacket, or a lab coat, I mean. So, yeah, you're definitely not alone in thinking that, because that's exactly what I thought.
Do they even ever say her like first name?
Think maybe when they first introduce her, maybe when she just gets into the lab, but I don't think they ever say her last name. I don't know though.
This watch of this movie would have benefited to have captions on it.
Yeah.
I don't like it wasn't hard to follow, but like sometimes it's really hard to understand. Like
Agreed.
Venom and Eddie, like I'm just like, you could just put captions on it, and then we would have known that it wasn't an insult. Probably, maybe, but probably not.
Okay, kind of unrelated, but also a little related. So me and Udi went to go see I Saw the TV Glow in theaters, and strangely enough, our showing had subtitles. It was the first and only movie I've ever seen in a theater that actually had subtitles.
Yeah, usually they're at like weird times or stuff like that, because they do that where they play like show times with subtitles and whatnot. But like again, usually they're like at odd times, not like during prime time, which is like when we went to go see that movie. So that was kind of odd, but it was cool though, because I mean it helped. Like it would have been cool for this movie.
Agreed.
Maybe they had it at a like later evening time because that movie had such a limited release.
Probably. It was like a 6 or 7. No, it was like a 6 p.m. show time. So it's probably like in that middle range where it's like it's probably earlier than like most people would go, but
Mhm.
not like too late. And so I think they probably had like another later show time that wasn't closed caption. So like we got like the one showtime that was closed caption. But I mean, again, it worked out. It was cool. It was nice to be able to know what they were saying. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if more movies just want to start displaying subtitles, I'm not going to complain. I always watch stuff with subtitles on. So,
Yeah. Which I think is a shift in how at least US Americans are consuming media. Because from my understanding for a really long time no one wanted subtitles and then streaming popped up and then now everyone has to have their subtitles on. It's fascinating. I'm sure there's like research and stuff that we could do or someone that's not us could do and I would read cuz it's interesting.
yeah, I will say, and this is like a little bit more of like cynical, I guess, but I do kind of feel like part of why I feel like more people have gotten, and I would still say that probably the vast majority of people don't like subtitles still, but more people have been more accepting of them. But I do kind of feel like the part of why is also, aside from like it's just, easy to be able to read and whatever, but I feel like the sound design hasn't been as good for some reason in a lot of movies. And so like if sound design is properly done, then you shouldn't need subtitles to be able to hear what people are saying. But when movies release in theaters or whatever and you can't understand, then it's like then people want subtitles. It's like, well, I can't understand what these people are saying. I can't follow the story, whatever, etc. And I feel like that's just been the case more and more with several movies. Like, I mean, hell, even Into the Spider-Verse, or no, Across the Spider-Verse last year, like there was like sound mixing
Oh
issues.
yeah, I had the hardest time with that movie
Yeah. I
and
guess that's what it
like
is, sound mixing, not sound design, my bad.
yeah. I agree. I think some of the movies that are coming out now, the sound mixing is not great, and they could probably spend way more time on doing these things. But since it's like, in the industry now, from my understanding, it's like we have to do this now. We're gonna rush to do it, and we're gonna get it out, and then that's why you get subpar movies like, you know, that are not great. But I would like to see more captioning and stuff in video, like in movies and stuff, just for accessibility things. Because, like, if you have audio processing disorders or you're deaf or hard of hearing, like, it just makes it way more accessible. But I do think the sound mixing is a reason that people want subtitles as well.
Yeah. And like on that note, I haven't personally watched a movie like this. So I don't know how comfortable or usable this is, but I know that a lot of theaters have started offering, at least near here, have started offering like readers, like screen readers. So like if you do have hearing problems or whatnot, like you can ask for one of those and they'll give them to you, and then that way you can, I'm pretty sure, see like captions. I've seen one of the devices before, like one of the screen readers, but I don't know exactly how it works because again, I've never used one. But I mean, I have had the curiosity to ask for one, but it's like one of those things where like, well, I don't want to ask for it, and then I don't know if they'd run out, but like I don't want to ask for it, and then someone like who does need it can't use it. So I guess if it was like a movie where there was no one else there except for me, then maybe that day I could try it out. But that being said, like it's always worth checking out at your local theater to see if they have that. But anywho, yeah, like Tenet was another big movie that had really bad sound mixing famously, and people were like, I couldn't understand like a freaking thing that whole time. But anywho, sorry, I'm kind of getting off topic. But yeah, so I thought the final action stuff was good. The new characters were interesting. How did you guys feel about the family? Because I don't think we've talked about them too much, and they're shockingly a pretty pivotal part of the story.
yeah, the hippie family that Eddie runs into, I want to say about halfway through the movie, I actually really enjoyed those characters. I thought they were pretty fun. Like I liked the family dynamic between like the son, the daughter, the dog, and the husband and his wife and whatnot. It was almost like Eddie entered into another movie. Like it's like this family was in their own movie and then
Yeah.
like Eddie ran into them, you know? So that was really fun. But my only problem with it is I feel like they were a little too drawn out because I think having the moments with Eddie in the car and whatnot, and then them dropping him off at Las Vegas, I think that's all you really needed with those characters. But then they come in at the end because the dad really wants to see aliens, so they show them at the end, and then they kind of help during the final battle, which is fine. Like I don't have an issue with that, but I just personally feel like it wasn't necessary for them to come in there at the end. I think it would have worked perfectly had they just dropped Eddie off in Nevada or in Las Vegas and then went on their own way. But I also did kind of like the scene because the boy was the son or whatever was afraid of aliens. I did kind of like the scene where Venom pops out and then he looks at the kid and he's like, don't be afraid. I did kind of like that scene, and that's not to say like them showing up at the end like ruined those characters for me. I still really liked those characters and they, in my opinion, were some of the best parts of the movie, at least the scenes before the final battle. But I just feel like them showing up during the final battle wasn't really necessary, but I still really liked them.
I feel like they were added to the final battle so that we could have some kind of like stakes or like urgency or like sense of someone's gonna get hurt, because if it's just a bunch of scientists that are like so and then a bunch of symbiotes who get shredded, it's like, well, okay. So I feel like they added them in there at the end in the battle to add some stakes to it. But in general, I think the family was interesting. Like a little like group of people, and I like the fact that they like help Eddie, and I do like some of the moments when they're like driving at night and when Eddie is talking to the son. He's like, aliens are not real. And then he like offers him the chocolate bar. I was like, oh, that's a sweet moment. And then Eddie and Venom have like a little conversation. It's like, oh, Eddie, you would have been a good father, or our lives could have been way different. And I'm like, oh wow, that was sad. But I think they work within the story and the plot. And they all survive. So that's a plus, because I love when a whole family survives.
So I know I was the one who was like, "Oh, let's talk about the family," but you just saying that reminded me of this thought that I had, Miranda. How would you guys feel if they did more Venom movies, but without Tom Hardy? Because given that sentiment that he says that in the van where he's like, Eddie, our lives could have been so different. Like you could have had a family, you could have been a good dad, blah 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 blah. And assuming that our headcanon ending is true and Venom is alive, what if he doesn't go to find Eddie? What if he goes to find someone else to, become Venom as someone else so that Eddie can live his normal life? I don't think they would do that, but how would you guys feel about that?
Well, I guess it would depend on who Venom's new host would be. Would it be a Spider-Man character? Would it be some random character we've never heard of? I don't know. I mean, once again, in comics, with some villains, there's usually villains, like famous villains out there that have multiple identities that go by that villain. Like one I could think of off the top of my head is Clayface with Batman. There's two versions of Clayface in the Batman mythos. There's Basil Karlo and there's Matthew Hagen. Both are kind of the same characters because they're both actors, but they both have portrayed Clayface in Batman canon. So I don't know if there has been other hosts to Venom other than Eddie Brock. I think there has been. And like in the Spider-Man 2 video game movie, because you had brought that up earlier, like, I mean, spoiler alert for this game, but I mean, it's been out for a couple of years, but light spoilers for the Spider-Man 2 video game. Like Harry Osborn is Venom in that game, so like, I'm sure there has been different identities for Venom in the comics, so I would be really curious to see who they would go with if they were to go that route. But once again, I don't know if I've said this before when talking about these movies, but like if you're going to do Venom, I want to see him fight Spider-Man. Like legit. So if these movies do continue, I do want to see some form of Venom one way or another fight some version of Spider-Man at one point. So if you're going to continue these movies, I at least want to see Spider-Man show up. Do it, cowards.
To get through the legal team first before they can introduce Spider-Man.
I mean, fair, but Sony does own the film rights to Spider-Man.
Yeah, like kind of renting him to the MCU.
Yeah, which
So,
I don't have a problem with, but I don't know.
I mean, if that happens, cool. If it doesn't happen, also cool, because I'm not that invested in the Venom versus Spider-Man fight. But if they want to bring Venom back and have a different host, a different person that's not Eddie, I think it'd be fine. I mean, I would definitely miss Eddie and his sadness and disasterness, because that's kind of why I like Eddie and Venom as characters. They just are disaster, walking disaster. He literally jumps in a lobster tank. He tries to bite heads off chickens. Just Venom making the drink at the bar, or making tater tots in the second one and stuff like that. I like those little moments in that character type of thing, and I feel like if they have Venom go to a different host, it wouldn't be like that. It'd be different, and then I would be like, "Oh, I miss Eddie and Venom. They were great." But I'm sure they'll bring them back. Maybe. I have no idea if Tom Hardy, yeah, that's his name, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, has desire to be in another Venom movie, and if Venom is still alive, I don't know if that's the route they're gonna go. They might go a different route. It could be interesting, it just would not be the same, and then I would be kind of sad. Because I really do like these movies, even though they're bad.
Yeah, and I mean, I honestly feel like that's probably the biggest reason why they won't, aside from the fact that, again, if they were to try to get anyone else and it wasn't Spider-Man, I just, what would be the point in that, kind of? For people who want something else, sure, but it's then you're alienating the people who already liked these movies. So I feel like there's just not really a win-win situation for them to do it. It could be interesting, sure, but I mean, again, I just don't think it would make sense because, I mean, I guess unless you made them exactly the same, but I mean, you'd have to hope that you would have someone as willing, I guess, to be as silly and into it as Tom Hardy was. I mean, Tom Hardy became essential to these movies basically because he started helping out with the writing of them, and I think he even might have gotten a producer credit. So he played a heavier part than just being Venom and being Eddie. He was part of the filmmaking process. So to find someone else like that would be as invested in the story and whatever and the character, etc. I don't know, but again, I don't think they would do that because I would risk alienating the fan base for these movies that already exists. So anyway,
Like me.
Yeah, exactly. Like you and other people. I know other people that enjoy these movies. I mean,
Yeah, there's other
our friend of the
people out
pod,
there.
Mike, was excited for Venom 3. So, I mean,
just a quick shout out to everyone who loves Venom. I also love Venom. Great movies. Don't listen to the haters.
all the Venom stands comment with some sort of Venom emoji in the chat section, in the comment section. There we go.
Yep.
I mean, I like Venom the character, but
but the movie.
Someone make a comment and then have it be like for Sony Venom movies, thumbs. I don't know what's another option, thumbs down for. You can't see the thumbs down. Never mind.
No, you can't.
God dang it, YouTube! I hate you. You're dumb. Just kidding. Sorry. Don't obliterate our viewing record.
Yeah,
please.
no.
But anyway, so going back to the question originally, I just thank you, Miranda, for the inspiration for that question because I remember thinking about that in the movie, but I totally forgot about that. But yeah, I mean, in a weird way, this family reminded me of the mom and son in Avengers: Age of Ultron. Because it's just kind of this random collateral damage family that is just involved in this greater superhero type story, and they just keep popping up. And I remember when they like showed up to Area 51 and then they're like, oh, let's just sneak in. Oh, let's go climb this tower. It's like, what's gonna happen? Are they gonna like die? Are they gonna get blown up or eaten or grinded to the bone by the giant monster creatures? Like, what is gonna happen here? Um, Shockingly, honestly, I thought at least one of them was gonna die, but I mean, I'm glad none of them did, but I was kind of expecting it. So when all of them survived, I was like, you know what? Kudos to them. I honestly thought one of them was gonna get eaten or something. I also wasn't expecting the revelation that aliens were real to be quite like that for them. Like, especially after Eddie was like, you know what? Aliens are fake. They're not real. Don't worry, I promise. And then he literally comes up and is like, hey, aliens are real, and I'm one of them. Or I'm connected to one of them. I thought that was kind of silly. Although I did think it was kind of funny that like Venom pops out and then the kid's like, "Oh my god, ah!" And then he's like, "Don't worry, I won't eat you." I thought that was a little silly. But all that being said, they were fine. I thought it was a choice to cast Reese Ifans. I don't know if that's how you say his name, but the guy who played Dr. Curtis Connors in the Amazing Spider-Man movies as just some random hippie dad in the Sony Marvel movies. But, you know, I'm not Sony. I don't know why they do the things they do, but it's interesting.
Huh. Know that.
So if you think about it from a multiversal perspective,
Yeah, multiversal.
We have Bane and Mordo and Selena Kyle's BFF from The Dark Knight Rises and the Lizard and Mrs. Chen. Oh, and Andy Serkis as another guy stuck in a chair sitting menacingly.
Yes. So maybe they are all connected. This is just a different universe. Because, you know, technically Venom is part of the MCU now. Because the whole multiverse thing, just like the bad... Oh, I'm sorry. I mean the great X-Men movies. Like X-Men Apocalypse.
Technically. I mean, sure, anything is technically multiverse, so technically.
I mean, I do kind of put these Venom movies in the same category as those, like, newer X-Men movies, where it's just like, yeah, they're silly and dumb, and I love them, and they're great, and I'm just here for a fun time. So, I like those ones as well as these ones.
You know, speaking of like the quote unquote multiverse, well, first of all, once again, I did not even recognize the hippie dad as Dr. Kirk Connors from The Amazing Spider Man. I mean, it's probably because he has longer hair and like a full on beard and whatnot, but still, I didn't recognize him at all. But Udi, I remember off air, we were talking about this movie. Didn't you mention that people truly did believe that he might have been like a multiversal Kirk Connors or something like that?
Yes. Oh my god, I saw so many random threads.
People
on the
like
internet.
really drinking the multiverse Kool-Aid.
I think especially because of Null, they were like, oh man, they're going to build up this like crazy epic finale where all these multiversal characters are going to come in, starting with Dr. Connors, and they're going to gather. But I was like, just reading that, I was like, there's no freaking way. Like, not even because it's like a Venom movie. Like, there's just no way that they're going to do all of that. No way. And when we watched it, I was like, yeah. Like, if you honestly thought that suddenly somehow Sony was going to come up with this grand idea for like this big team up thing, and like the last movie where they've set nothing up, I was like, there's no chance they're gonna do that. So I was not surprised. It's just, again, just a weird choice to recast. Like, and like, I mean, yeah, I guess they did a good job. Plus, like, he's gotten older, so he looks a little different. But like, they gave him like a really shaggy look, and shaggy. Like,
was that supposed to be a Scooby-Doo reference?
Yes.
Zoinks!
Zoink, Scoob! But yeah, so they made him look really different, and I guess it worked. But I knew going in that it was him, so I was just like, are they gonna do anything with him? Because I'm not expecting him to, and then he didn't. I was like, okay, yeah, that's what I.
And weren't people also thinking that with Chiwetel Ejiofor and Mordo?
Yeah, they were thinking it was gonna be Mordo, and it was like, no. I think also because, like, to be fair, I guess they were showing that scene at the bar in the trailer, so people were like, whoa, there's like a multiversal Mordo who's like helping get the Venom goo. Like, that's in the MCU, right? And I mean, like, fair enough, I guess. I don't think anyone expected them to just teleport Eddie and Venom to an identical location in their universe. So
I will say though that the multiverse has ruined, like, actors can't be different characters anymore. It's just like, oh, it's this character, isn't it? But I mean, like you were saying though, they did kind of connect these movies to the MCU at the end of No Way Home and whatnot. So I guess I can't blame people for thinking of that. But actors can play different characters. Just saying.
Nope, they can't. They're all multiverse variants of each other now.
I guess.
Is that Chris Pratt in Jurassic Park? No, that's just a version of Star-Lord. Is that Captain Marvel? No, that's just a weirdly crazy Envy Adams with superpowers.
that's a movie I would watch.
Is that Chris Evans? No, that's Lucas Lee.
Lucas Lee.
To be fair, I like to think that every movie that Daniel Radcliffe is in is just another version of Harry Potter, because that one movie he's in where he has the two guns and he's in the bathrobe and in the dinosaur slippers and he's like going crazy.
Guns akimbo.
Yeah, imagining that's still Harry Potter is really funny. So
You're a lunatic, Harry. But yeah, so I guess, did we have any other final thoughts on Venom: The Last Dance?
Mrs. Chen.
Mrs. Chen, do you want to dance in Las Vegas, Mrs. Chen?
To Dancing Queen.
Okay.
Anyway, we can move on.
Alrighty, on that note, do we have anything else to add to our conversation about Venom: The Last Dance?
Gonna be a no for me, dog.
Yeah, I think I've said everything I need to say.
Okay. Well, I guess let's go into ratings. Udi, what would you give this movie out of 5?
This is probably one of the hardest movies I've ever had to rate. I'm really going off
It
of my...
doesn't come easy to you?
Not always. Even with movies I like, sometimes I struggle with rating because I try to be as objective as I can in terms of like my sensibilities and my rating scales. But
yeah, but this movie's obviously a 5.
It's a 5 in the Sony Marvel Universe scale. It's not a 5 anywhere else.
Okay.
I'm really just basing this off of my previous scores for the other movies. So, and again, like I was really trying to figure some other way of like, how else would I rate how I feel about this movie? But I mean, like I said at the beginning, like simultaneously, I feel like this is the best of these and also like the worst of them. And that's not like, I don't know. Like this just does so many different things that I'm just like, I don't know how to feel. Again, I do feel like it has like the best action set piece in all of the movies, really, because there's really only one big action set piece at the end of the second one, which is the finale, and it was like the only time that Venom and Carnage ever meet up and fight. And then in the first one, I didn't really think much of Riot and Venom fighting. So like this by a long shot was just the most interesting and most well choreographed like fight set piece and big action set piece. Plus again, I like the big Venom creature at the end, like him swallowing up all the Null creatures, like that was kind of cool looking. And like again, got a couple of laughs out of me here and there. And just overall was just like this universe, like these Venom movies, like level of fun. So that all being said, and it's actually technically the highest score I've given any of these movies, so I guess that's something, but I'm going to give Venom: The Last Dance a 2 out of 5.
That's fair. That's fair. How about you, Dan? What would you give Venom: The Last Dance out of 5?
Yeah, so I mean, this movie kind of did fall in line with what I was expecting. And as I've stated before, I was never really a fan of these movies, so I wasn't really expecting to be wowed by this one. That being said, to compare it to another comic book villain movie that came out this year, Joker 2, well, I do feel like Joker 2 had like better acting and was like better geez, how do I say this without sounding better made? I don't know how else to say that. Well, I feel like Joker 2 had like better acting and was better cinematography and whatnot. If I was given the choice between watching Venom The Last Dance or Joker 2, I would probably watch Venom The Last Dance over it, because while
It's
it is
Venom all the way. I haven't even seen Joker 2. It's Venom.
yeah, and this
There's
is coming
no debate there.
this is coming from the DC fanboy as well. So like
Okay, that is true.
yeah, so I would watch Venom The Last Dance over Joker 2, because like while like I said, while Joker 2 was a better made movie, Venom 1 was shorter and 2 was more entertaining. Like the action set pieces were fun. Some of the jokes did make me laugh. And once again, while I felt like the movie had some really bad writing and I felt like the jokes were bad at times, I understand why these movies have their fans. And like, I would rate this probably a 2 as well. Same with Udi.
So I'm gonna give it a 5 out of 5 because it's fun and it's great and I love Venom and they're ridiculous and silly. So, yep.
I'm gonna expose you. That is not what you rated it on Letterboxd.
No, on Letterboxd I did give it a 3.
Yeah.
But for the memes, I'm giving it a 5.
Fair. That's fair.
Unless you guys want me to use my serious score.
No, you can give it a 5.
You can do it for the meme. That's fine.
For the meme, it's 5. I mean, I gave Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumanium 5. I'm giving Venom The Last Dance 5.
Yeah. And I mean, like, people like, even on Letterboxd, they use like their silly scores, so like it's the same thing. Do it for the meme.
I mean, I do like the Venom movies. They're silly and fun, and I like them.
Yeah.
So the Atomic Lizard's average score for Venom The Last Dance is a 3 even. Which I think is fitting.
Yeah. I think that's a solid score. 3 out of 5.
I'm sure most of the Venom heads will agree with that.
Yeah. Averages out to the score that I originally gave the movie anyway, so it's like the 5 is fine. But on that note, thank you so much for joining us and listening to our conversation about Venom The Last Dance. If you're interested in hearing more, check out our previous episodes, and as always, you can find us on Instagram at Atomic Lizards Pod and on Letterboxd at Atomic_Lizards.